Welcome to Amplifying the Patient Journey, a series in which we speak with both providers and patients about the clinical journey with a neurologic condition and what recent advances mean for patients, their providers, and caregivers. I'm Greg Jensen, editor with Practical Neurology, and I had the privilege of interviewing Nenad Bach, founder of PingPong Parkinson, who discusses why he started PingPong Parkinson. He is joined by Gabe Elkinson and Ryan Dom, two high school students who started a PingPong Parkinson chapter in Georgia, and Pierre Russell, a member and active participant in this PingPong Parkinson chapter. All right, so we're going to start with Nenad, and I wonder if you could just briefly describe your journey with Parkinson's disease and just some of your initial reaction to your diagnosis.
I was diagnosed in 2010, and it was a relief for me because I thought it could be something worse than that. So, and in 2015, I stopped. I'm a professional musician and composer, and I stopped playing publicly guitar. And I couldn't actually, I don't know if I have guitar here soon. Maybe I can demonstrate to you, but I couldn't play syncopation on guitar after 2015. And by accident, I started to play ping pong in a local club in Pleasantville, New York. And after 3 to 4 months of playing ping pong, I could play syncopation again. So I reversed some symptoms. And I said, if it helped me, why not others? So I formed PingPong Parkinson therapy sessions. And we will have soon 300 sessions of the same PingPong Parkinson. Soon, in a couple of weeks, we'll have 300th session.
The 300th session you said you're celebrating, is that right?
Correct, yeah.
Oh, very good.
In the meantime, we had the World Championships all over the world, tournaments. We had Brazil Open like on the 11th of November 2023, just a few days ago. And it became a world movement. And I was lucky enough to meet Ryan and Gabe. And so I'm glad to be here.
Excellent. Thank you, Nenad. And Nenad, you had mentioned that ping pong was something you picked up after your diagnosis. Is that correct?
It's 6 years after diagnosis, yeah. But by accident, a friend of mine invited me to the ping pong club, table tennis club, just for fun. And, I noticed that next day I felt much better, like 50% better. So it can be anecdotal, but next week I played again, and the next day I felt again good. So I said, there must be something here. So I increased this to 2 to 3 times a week. And after 3 to 4 months, I could play my guitar again publicly. So that was the premises of starting the PingPong Parkinson therapy.
Very interesting. And can you tell us a little bit more about your friend inviting you? Why did he invite you? Did he think it would be helpful? Give us insight into that.
Just fun, because Will Shorts, the editor of New York Times Crossword Puzzles, is owner of the club. So he said, why don't you meet Will Shorts? He's a friend of mine. And so I said, why not? So I just came there, and to cut it short, Will Shorts is the vice president of PingPong Parkinson now. Yeah.
Yeah, and tell us, and where was that first chapter of PingPong Parkinson started?
In Pleasantville, at the club. And by the way, tonight we have a session, 291st session tonight. At the Pleasantville, it's 175 Tompkins Avenue. It's Westchester Table Tennis Center in Pleasantville. And approximately 40 people will come tonight. Yeah, between 30 and 50 people come on a regular basis.
And the people that attend, does everybody who attends, do they have Parkinson, or is it open to the general?
No, they have Parkinson. People with we do this is therapy for people with Parkinson, but we have volunteers. We try to match number of people with Parkinson with number of volunteers, so that they have attention. Also, if somebody is unstable, that they have shadow player behind them. not to fall. So we have one situation next week that somebody needs a shadow player. And today somebody called me out of blue. He said that he learned about it. He got 3 months ago, he was diagnosed. So can he come? I said, of course. So he's coming. So every day something new is happening. Every day somebody calls, and it's how to say, support for people, not just physical, but emotional and social support, which is very important. And ping pong is fun. You don't need discipline when you love to do something. So we didn't conquer Parkinson yet, but we conquered the fear of Parkinson. And also, my statement at the last World Championship in Austria is that we are committed to find a cure by 2027. So how we will leave no stone unturned. We will activate all of the people, around 3,000 people in the world, and that we will look everywhere, not just under the street lamp where everybody can see it, but in the dark, in the shadows, in the corners, on lemons like penicillin, anywhere. We'll look for the solution, to finding the cure.
That's great context. I really appreciate that. Thank you. Transition now to you, Pierre, and curious, I know you started with some of these details, but wondering if you could just tell us a bit about your own background, including your diagnosis, and how you became familiar with PingPong Parkinson.
Yeah, I started playing ping pong about 10 years ago. And so that was a little bit before I got diagnosed. But I fully embrace what the Nenad said about helping you socially and spiritually, and how if that's so important, and it's one of the incredible things about Parkinson's is that when you play ping pong, it's so much fun. It's so much, you just can't wait to get to the table and get that ping pong paddle, and it just is it's hard to describe. But anyway, so I'm so thankful that Gabe and Ryan sort of started this thing in Atlanta. But as far as the background, I think I probably bored you a bunch with my little thing. I wasn't exactly sure what you wanted, but yeah, I lived in Europe, and I was in the yacht delivery business, and we would, like, if you had a boat in Boston and you wanted it taken to the South Pacific, and I would get people together and move the boat, and so that's what I did for a living. And I've got twin boys that are 24 right now, and they like to play ping pong also. But I can't describe really how much fun it is to play, and you're really kind of following doctor's orders, because the doctors want you to be active. That's so important with Parkinson's. So and I just as a side, I'm not sure how relevant this is, but my father and one of my older sisters had Parkinson's. It's just fun to do, and I'm so happy that I can play, and I'm actually fairly good, although my wife can beat me. She's really good. She's a very aggressive player, and she's also really good in getting me out to do things. And she'll say, "Hey, Pierre, let's get out and take a walk," and I'll say, "Oh, let's do it in a couple of minutes," and she'll say, "No, let's do it now." And so she provides a lot of motivation and and push for me to get get by this circumstance. And so I send kudos to Gabe and Ryan and also lots of thanks to them for their efforts.
That's great. Thanks, Pierre. And I wonder, you mentioned that your wife gets you out to walk a bunch. Could you share a bit about how ping pong fits in with other exercise and physical therapy related recommendations that are made by your physician?
Yeah, I'm not quite sure the science exactly, but from everything I've read and in my own personal experience, playing ping pong and sort of doing that with the trying to be as active as I can has really helped me. I'm sure of it. I've always heard that with Parkinson's that you have to be really active, and that's so true. And it's a really great way to follow doctor's orders, by playing.
That's great. And would you say that ping pong and walking, are they the main forms of kind of exercise therapy, or is there anything else that you do that fits in with that?
Yeah. I've always kind of been an exercise nut anyway. So, but yeah, I go to the Y a lot. I went to the Y last night and have a little, a workout thing that I do, and mainly walking. Kim and I walk, maybe a couple of miles every night or every other night, and I can do 4 or 5 miles if I take a lot of dopamine. But yeah, I would say walking is my main activity, and so and also riding my bike. I do my bike a lot, and so ping pong, riding my bike. We have weights in front of the TV set and a yoga mat, and we'll get on that, and my wife will help me a lot with that, and so I think every little bit helps a lot.
That's great. Thanks so much, Pierre. I'm going to go to Gabe, to you and to Ryan now. If you could just take a moment to introduce yourselves individually, and then if you could explain how you connected with each other.
Yeah, so I'm Gabe. I was born and raised in Los Angeles, and I moved 2 years ago, right, like towards the end of COVID, like 2021 or 2022, to Atlanta. Or you want to experience your friend?
Yeah, so I'm Ryan. I'm in 11th grade, same grade as Gabe. I was born in Tennessee. I moved to Atlanta when I was 4, so I've been in Atlanta since then. And yeah.
Yeah, so Rod and I have actually a pretty funny story of how we met. When I was like applying to like schools and like talking with people, like our school Paideia connected me with Ryan like before I moved, like over the summer. So I like talked to him and asked him some questions about it, and we got to know each other.
Yeah, and we also have a lot of classes together that we go through, and we also play soccer for our school team together. So we've gotten to know each other pretty well over the past 2-3 years.
That's great. Thanks so much. And I wonder could you tell me about, you mentioned this connection you made with one another as a result of establishing PingPong Parkinson. Tell me about some of the connections you made, like you made with Pierre and some others who have come into your life through the establishment of PingPong Parkinson.
Yeah, so we've been able to like meet a lot of people, and like it's honestly like fun meeting people and getting to know their stories, like through all the people that come to our PingPong Parkinson sessions. And we've also gone to meet Nenad and a lot of like professionals in like, I guess the pink in like just like that know about PingPong Parkinson and that like are working on curing Parkinson right now, which is pretty interesting.
Gabe and Ryan, you mentioned Nenad. How did you connect with Nenad, meet Nenad, and become interested in establishing Ping Pong Parkinson in the first place?
Yeah, so Ryan and I both love playing ping pong. And a couple years ago, when I was like visiting some family in New York, my dad's cousin, who's in the original New York chapter, I played with her and she's a fabulous player. And when I moved to Atlanta, I was like thinking, oh, maybe I could volunteer at one of these programs, but there was none in the entire Southeast. So I contacted Margie, my dad's cousin, who connected us with Nenad to start and like run a new PingPong Parkinson branch.
That's excellent. And how many Ping Pong Parkinson branches are there? Do you know that? Either Gabe, Ryan, or Nenad, if you want to jump in.
We are calculating between 200 and 300 in the world. Yeah, so because we are creating a legal structure right now as we are speaking, which we didn't have. Only in Germany is well organized, but in Sweden, in Slovenia, in France, in Brazil, in Japan, we have 23 countries, and on 4 continents. And so it's in the first part of the 2024, we'll know exactly the number of chapters. And because we didn't want to wait, people to wait for us to get the legal structure. We want people to start immediately. It's one of our goals is to help as many people as possible immediately now, not in 2 weeks, not in 2 months, now. So we let them use our logo and take a table tennis and start practicing immediately. So that's why we don't know exactly, but I would say a little bit less than 300.
Tell me a bit then, Nenad, about your reaction to meeting Gabe and Ryan and their desire to establish this chapter. Fill me in on that.
I was thrilled about it, because these are 2 young men, bright, and willing to help elderly mostly. That's very noble, noble souls. So I was very touched and moved by it. The 2 16-year-old boys are socially conscious and are willing to organize, even when it didn't go smoothly in the beginning. They couldn't find people with Parkinson, but they didn't give up. You say they tried different ways and they succeeded. So I'm very proud of them and very grateful to them and their mother, Edie, Gabe's mother, Edie, and all the parents who are around. But mainly they did it on their own. They say that oak is the small, how to say, small nut that kept its. It was stubborn enough. So you have to have clear vision, clear picture of the final product or final what you want to achieve, and then things are coming together, and it's not an easy ride, but it is exciting. You help people. And you find people that you wouldn't find otherwise. You meet people that you wouldn't meet otherwise. So what do we have? Time is all we have, So what do you do with time? That's the question.
But you got to meet Gabe and Ryan. You got to meet a number of others. Tell me about some of those connections, including this individual who can smell Parkinson's.
That's Joy. She's a nurse in Manchester, UK, in England. And we have a Zoom with her, and it's public it's on PingPong Parkinson YouTube channel. Anybody can see it. And she discovered, because her husband had Parkinson, and 12 years before he had Parkinson, she knew it because she could smell from a gland. I forgot, sebal. I can't remember. On the neck, there is a gland that produces smell. Scent, and so she was able to they experiment with her. They tested her. So they gave 12 people, 6 had Parkinson, 6 didn't. And they wore t-shirts, undershirts for a day. And they cut this shirt in half and gave them all 24 pieces. And she connected right with the right. So she could tell stage of Parkinson of each person. And also she said there are 7 people, not 6. And they said, no, it's 6. And in 9 months, that person was diagnosed. So she was 100% correct. And so they are trying to develop. That's why I said we want to find the cure. We want to alarm anybody who is willing to participate, from poets to, to people who deliver yachts, and anybody who is willing to think, because we want to develop a kit that they don't need to smell you, but that you can just maybe wipe on your back, and you will find out whether you will have Parkinson in 10 years or not. So that will change the course of finding a cure.
Gabe and Ryan, let me come back to you now. There was some mention there of some of the initial roadblocks or maybe difficulties when you started this chapter. But tell me what it took to establish this chapter, which I understand is the first and only Ping Pong Parkinson chapter in the Southeast.
Yeah, of course. It took a lot of effort behind the scenes. We would estimate like 6+ months of working and just doing stuff that no one really sees of the end product, right? We began with coordinating with Nenad about creating a branch, and at the time was one of the first in the US. So what we helped Nenad with was the handbook of how to create new chapters in the US or in other countries. And this was our first building block into knowing how to create these chapters and gaining the knowledge. Then soon after, we reached out in Atlanta, we reached out to multiple ping pong facilities, such as the Atlanta, Georgia Table Tennis Association and the Atlanta International one. And luckily, Brian, who leads the Atlanta, Georgia Table Tennis Association, allowed us to use their ping pong facilities. And after that, we had to recruit people, which, like Nenad said earlier, was a really tough process for us. We spent good part of 4 months reaching out to different Parkinson support groups, also a lot of different doctors who reached out to people for us, but it didn't really work out as well as we would have hoped. But soon after time and after it spread through words, we reached out, we got a lot of people, and we soon, during the summer of 2023, we were able to finally start and launch our program, which we'd say so far has been very successful. And we run it every Sunday and we enjoy it, and we love impacting and helping people.
Could you run me through, on a typical Sunday, if somebody shows up to a Ping Pong Parkinson meeting, what does that typical meeting look like? What will they experience?
Yeah, so we run it through Atlanta, Georgia Table Tennis Association, which Ryan has mentioned, which is in the top 20 for ping pong clubs in the country. And they have professional coaches there. It's volunteer coaching, so it's not exactly every single week, but there's general coaches that we have consistently that our members love and have learned a lot playing with. So we'll get there, and players can do stretching and calisthenics if they want to, but some of our players would rather just play. So we'll alternate and run through who gets to hit with the coaches and then people hitting with each other. Depending on how many people we'll have, we might have to do doubles, or we can do more individual coaching sessions.
Thank you. And from those who have participated, would you mind telling me about some of the feedback you've received from participants?
Yeah, so we've had a lot of positive feedback, about the coaches and about the place and everything. So we've had some specific feedback, some players would rather just play instead of doing the calisthenics. So we switched from doing a large portion of calisthenics to more hitting and practicing. And we've also heard a lot of people really love the community, as some members in our program haven't told everyone about Parkinson's, and having a safe space to connect and meet other people with Parkinson's. So it's been really rewarding for Ryan and I to watch this community build.
That's great. Yeah, I appreciate you documenting kind of the physical benefits, but as Nenad mentioned, also kind of some of the social benefits and overcoming that fear. That's really a powerful message. Pierre, I want to come back to you now and ask, for those who maybe have recently received a Parkinson diagnosis, what advice would you give to them? What would you share with them?
You know, I think the main thing is to just try to be as positive as you can, and you know, every day is different, and you have to kind of face some different challenges, and but actually, you know, I'm doing pretty good from a personal point of view. I haven't really run into a lot of stuff that I can't do, that I can't, you know, that are really big obstacles. I mean, you know, the little changes and stuff going on. We first heard about Nenad, I think, with a couple of months ago, and there was something online, and it was so inspirational. It was so much, you know, that it was fun to share his experience with other people, and to point out his experience. But yeah, I would just say to be positive, and also just to keep moving. I think, you know, movement is so important. You know, that it's very, very important to just make yourself get up and do stuff and to walk and stuff. And I'd like to ask some people how important walking is, and whether there's a really lots of benefit with walking, or is that an exercise that's really, really beneficial?
It is beneficial. There is the man from South Africa documented this very well. Skip my mind his name right now, but you can check.
Mhm.
I interviewed him a couple of years ago, maybe 5-6 years ago. I interviewed him, and it's beneficial. Maybe every second day is better. Not every day to walk, but every second day.
Okay.
So, and also if you want to carry a little bit weights, that's also not bad to walk with weights.
Right.
So
Okay.
it's definitely beneficial.
Yeah. We have a couple of yoga mats we put in front of the television, and
Very good.
we'll, you know, do a lot of exercises and stretching and physical activity, stuff like that. And it just makes you, it really makes you feel good to put the effort and to do stuff. It's really important.
And my last question is for you, Nenad. Wondering if you could share, just thinking, you know, you mentioned some of the handbooks and how, you know, this is expanding rapidly. What's your vision for the future of Ping Pong Parkinson?
Well, to find a cure by 2027, that's exactly what is the future. Also, to have as many people as possible to play the table tennis, because it's beneficial for your health, regardless whether you have Parkinson or not. Because we are not just affected by ourselves. We affect our families, our friends. So it's not 10 million people that suffer from Parkinson, but it's 50 million people who are around them that are affected by it. So when you go together with your spouse or with your friend, we have a number of people who come with their friends, and they love it. They just, as Pierre said, you can't wait to hit the ball. You know, you can't wait the moment to play, to spin the ball in the air. So like you give a cat a ping pong ball. You know, I have ping pong ball everywhere. Like you give that ball to the cat, and cat is playing it for half an hour like this. And man is humans are the same. For some reason, we enjoy this spinning ball in the air, and I don't know why, but we do. So my goal is to structure the whole thing, and hopefully keep fingers crossed we have somebody working on it. And also world peace. we are. I'm activist, peace activist, and I would love to work together with PingPong Parkinson friends and members to act upon world peace, permanent world peace, not temporary but permanent.
Thank you to Nenad Bach, Gabe Elkinson, Ryan Dong, and Pierre Russell for sharing their stories with our listeners in this episode of Amplifying the Patient Journey. And thanks to you, our listeners. Be sure to visit practicalneurology.com for more podcasts in the neurology field.